Queen's birthday weekend, June 2008, and the township of Alice Springs is almost abandoned. Locals, interstaters and overseas visitors gather and head south towards the community of Finke. The urge to get up in the freezing cold and stand along a 225-kilometre sand track. The tradition of the Finke weekend has endured for over 32 years. Whole families shift, and sometimes a substantial part of their households, to a favourite spot along the Finke track.
This is my first one. Come up to have a look. Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah, really impressed. Yeah. We're back again.
Over 600 competitors are about to take on the desert in an attempt to get there and back in Australia's toughest and fastest desert race. Mental and physical strength will be tested, with endurance and skill being key factors in the pursuit of the dream to be kings of the desert. David Fallows and the Toyota Racing Development Team are very serious about winning this year's race. David Fallows is a past winner of the race, but TRD is yet to succeed in the event.
We got up the pointy end of the field, so we're pretty happy with that.
The 2008 Tattersalls Finke Desert Race has attracted a capacity field of 500 bikes. The top bike contenders will battle it out for the glory. But for the majority of the field, well, they're just happy to get there and back and pick up a spike.
The beauty of the Tattersalls Finke Desert Race is that anyone can enter. For $440 as a bike rider or $660 as a car driver, you can go in Australia's greatest desert race. And whilst it still has that ability to let the average punter compete, it'll still have the enormous popularity. If it was a professional event, I think we'd suffer from the numbers.
No, I'd actually like to finish in one piece with my bike altogether. I mean, I'm on Polaris's, they're really reliable, and she's on Can-Am.
And so I'm bound to finish.
Yes, yeah, first thing.
We are from Germany. We came for the Finke Desert Race here in the Northern Territory.
Finke Virgins.
Yes, this is my first Finke. And how are you feeling about it? A little bit nervous.
The race is not just about the thousands of dollars being spent at pro level. It's also about the competitors that have very small budgets and their dedication to the sport. 2007 saw the unveiling of a lot of new track changes to improve the racing experience. Parts of the course from Alice to Finke were also graded in an attempt to improve safety after concerns were raised about spectators being placed in danger.
We run a campaign on television, Re-Safety. We do a lot of work for safety.
The changes to the track this year had everybody talking, both the drivers and the riders voicing their opinions.
Yeah, I pre-ran the whole course yesterday, 240k out there I think it was approximately. It's very similar to last year. Certainly there are odd spots that have been flattened out, but there's other spots that are roughened up. So personally, I don't think it's much different to last year. I think you'll see fairly similar times and it's going to be a great race.
Well, the faster track's I believe it's going to be a bit more difficult for the faster riders. The dust is going to be a big factor.
No, like faster the better for me anyway. Like I love the fast stuff, and in some ways it's easier for me to come up here and ride the fast stuff instead of having to learn the technical stuff that they've grown up on for years. And yeah, it's definitely going to be fast, but I also believe that it's going to be in some ways a little bit more sketchy, because instead of hitting big bumps at slow speed, the speed's up and these little bumps become quite big at that speed. And yeah, I think it'll be interesting. At the moment the track's very dusty, like I'd love for it to rain, and there is a bit of rain forecast, so hopefully it does come through.
Every year we do maintenance on the track. There are some changes that are forced on us by the roads department and so forth. There was a section change this year because the road alignment had changed. The event is a desert race, and everybody going into that understands the conditions of a desert race. Last weekend we ran an event where competitors could come and view the course, and the weekend before. So everything is taken very, very responsibly by the organising committee and the competitors.
The serious competitors don't underestimate how tough the race is, because they've done these types of races before. But for the Joe average, I'm sure a lot of them go home very sore, but all the better for the experience.
As the competitors were preparing to face the gruelling 450-kilometre round trip to Finke and back, families and friends down the track began to set up for a 3 and sometimes 4-day campout.
I've been coming up since '04.
This is only my second.
10.
The Tattersalls Finke race is an all-comers event, from the $1 million buggy setups to the everyday bloke who works for the local machine shop. They all face the same challenge.
The buggy was made in 1984 in Adelaide. It's a copy of a Southern Cross. It's raced up here in Finke 3 times in the early 90s, and I bought it in November and done a lot of work to it and getting it going again. This is my first time, and it'd be one of the races that you have to do as an off-roader. We do many club events up here, and you've got to do Finke at least a couple of times to get the spike, so you can say you finished.
At the top end of town, there's the big boys of off-road racing. One of those big guns is last year's winner, Hayden Bentley. Hayden drives a 6-litre purpose-built 2000 series Jimco buggy.
The majority of gear we run is from the States. Obviously the engine is built in America, our tyres, the car. We run an Albans gearbox, which is from Ballarat in Victoria, and they're world renowned at the moment, being used by a lot of people in the Dakar and the Baja, and like I said, a very large export deal to America, so they're top quality.
Hayden wouldn't say how much his setup has cost, but I bet you could buy a nice little house in Melbourne or Sydney for the dollars he's already invested. This year's Tattersalls Finke Desert Race has attracted a record number of bikes. 500 riders have signed up to have a crack at the gruelling event.
I suppose people think that, like, I personally don't get no pressure off anyone on the outside. Like, I suppose I probably put more pressure on myself to do well than what anyone else could anyway. And yeah, if there is pressure, I don't see it, or I don't acknowledge it or something. But yeah, I just worry about myself and just sort of do the best I can.
The biggest increase in competitors this year has been with the older blokes, the Masters class, with well over 100 entries. These are recreational riders who've always wanted to have a go. Over the event's 32-year history, we've seen many star-studded fields, including Baja winners, Australian Safari champions, V8 supercar drivers, Paris to Dakar competitors, even TV presenters. This year, the race attracted a different sporting legend, AFL goal-scoring freak Tony Lockett.
I don't really know. I know it's going to be really hard. It's going to be really tough. It's going to be a great challenge. But look, we just go in and see what happens, and try and have a bit of fun with it. It's about all I can do, I think. This was the one I really wanted to do, but he got me to do Condo, and like obviously this one, and then we got Hattars next month, and then the Australian Safari after that. But I plan on doing them all. But ask me Tuesday, I might have something different to tell you. But I'll just give them a go and see what happens.
One of the most incredible stories of this year's race was the acceptance of an entry from a paraplegic, Alice Springs motorbike rider Isaac Elliott. Isaac became a paraplegic after a motorbike accident in 2007. This year, Isaac has had a bike specially built for the race.
Yeah, I've just made it so I can ride it. I've put a seat on there that holds me in, and some bars to protect my legs, electronic gear shifting setup, and a few other modifications for Finke. And yeah, it's getting pretty good, so it should be right for the race.
Central Australia is known for its blue skies and red sands. Even in the middle of winter, when the temperatures go below zero and campers along the Finke track have to brave the frosty conditions to start the day, they wake to crystal clear skies and a cool breeze to blow away the dust. But the racing gods were not smiling on the organisers of this year's race. The weather conditions had turned sour, and that brought both smiles and despair to drivers and riders.
This year has been the best conditions because of the rain. In my 30-odd years involvement in the event, our biggest threat has always been dust, and dust has nearly been eliminated this weekend. That's not something as an organising committee we can do, but the weather has been very kind for us. So the conditions under that system have been excellent this weekend.
Saturday Prologue sorts out the men from the boys, with competitors going flat out to get pole position. The importance of getting off the line first gives you an enormous advantage. Being able to race in clear air means not having to deal with the dust, and it's flat out all the way to Finke. But this year's Prologue didn't have the dust everybody expected. It was a mud bath from woe to go. Rain for the last 24 hours had made conditions very slippery. Getting 400 horsepower to the ground in one of these monsters is an acquired skill. But like most things in life, the cream rises to the top. And it was Dave Fellows and Andrew Kittle that managed to get around the Prologue track in the quickest time, claiming pole position for the race. Of course, the bikes faced the same conditions, but with less wheels. It was turn off the steering dampener and plough your way through the mud and slush. It was Jason Hill who took Prologue honours in the bikes. Living in Darwin obviously helps the former Finke winner. There's no shortage of water up there. Race day, and the final preparations are underway. Men and machines roll out ready to take on the Finke. Meanwhile, down the track, the Finke fanatics are waiting for that first buggy to roar past. Race time, and the first of the buggies are getting ready to blast off. 225 kilometres are about to explode. Dave Fellows and Andrew Kittle wait patiently at the start line. The flag drops, and the 2008 Tattersalls Finke Desert Race is underway. Second away is the buggy of Owen and Beatty. Local favourite Chris Coulthard gets his chance to go racing. After finishing in 19th place in the Prologue, last year's winner Hayden Bentley was giving Dave Fellows' buggy just under a minute head start. Hayden Bentley's dream of back-to-back wins was going to be tough. With the track the fastest it's been in many years, Bentley would need a trouble-free run to Finke to get anywhere near Fallows.
We had gearbox problems. We were pulled over for about 25 minutes, and then we also did a belt in the last little bit, but we're here and see if we can get it fixed to go home.
The buggies ground their way into Finke, with Dave Fallows and Andrew Kittle crossing the line in record time. The 88 car of Coulthard and Hawker came in just over 4 minutes later, and the Victorian father and son combination of Ian and Shannon Wrench a further 2 minutes behind. Of the 67 car teams that started Sunday morning, nearly 1/3 would fail in their attempt to conquer the southbound journey. So for those who made it down to Finke, there was a bit of work to do to get back. Matthew Morgan, in his 20-year-old homemade single-seater, got to Finke in a time of 3 hours, 25 minutes and 7 seconds, placing him second in his class on day one. For the teams that managed to get to Finke, what was the feeling?
Doing pretty good. We got a flat tyre and a bit of problems with the jacks and stuff like that, so we lost a fair bit of time, but other than that, no, we've done good.
Looks like we're about 4th on time, so we went good. Yeah, car's going really well. We're just putting some, clean the CVs up, make sure they're all good, and get prepped for tomorrow on the way home.
The big car's probably suited more to this track, I think, but our car still seems to do the job.
With the buggies camped at Finke, it was time to turn our attention to the bikes. With 500 competitors to cover the 225 kilometres, they definitely had an exciting time getting off the start line. The top 10 riders would start in pairs 1 minute apart, and they would start in order of their prologue finishing times. The first 2 riders would be previous winner Jason Hill and South Australian Chad Billett. The second pair of Michael Walsh and Caleb Auric. Ryan Branford and David Walsh were next away. Nathan Hawkes and Ben Brooks got away in 7th and 8th positions. It wasn't until the 5th pairing that last year's winner Ben Grabham and New South Welshman Lee Stevens were allowed to crack their throttles open and try and chase down the leaders. Ben Grabham is trying to win back-to-back races, not done since Stephen Greenfield in 1998. After the fastest prologue riders got away, the rest of the field were let go in groups of 8. With 500 riders heading south, the rain the previous day had made the conditions the best for years. However, as with all motorsport, there is always an element of danger. 70 kilometres down the track, a rider had come to grief. Alice Springs rider Peter Spratling had fallen off 20 kilometres down the track. He continued to ride with a dislocated shoulder for another 55 kilometres until he came across this accident scene.
Old mate's over there, bloody broken ribs, so I thought I might get a lift with the chopper, or even see if one of these coppers will take me back home. First race, but it won't be the last. I love it, but yeah, I've got to slow down a bit next time. Don't go so gung-ho, and hopefully try and make it through to Finke next time.
People down at Finke waited eagerly to see who was going to be the first bike into Finke. With dust practically eliminated, it was anyone's race. Finally, the sound of a four-stroke. Alice Springs local Ryan Branford was the first bike into Finke. Close behind him was former local Caleb Orrick, followed by pro rider Brad Williscroft. Once everyone was into Finke and times had been corrected, the battle for King of the Desert had got even more serious. After 225 kilometres of racing, 2007 winner Ben Grabham, who started 10th, had the fastest corrected time for day one. Starting a mere 33 seconds behind him on day two would be 2006 winner Ryan Branford. It was definitely going to be an exciting race to the finish. Some riders had fared better than others. Dealing with fuel spills wasn't on the agenda.
I just had stupid little dramas on the way down, like I lost my fuel breather, so I was pumping fuel out all over my waist all the way down and getting on fire, and silly little things like my pegs and shit broke off, and just silly little things, but I made it there in one piece and picked up a few spots, so I'll have another go tomorrow and see what happens.
Yeah, pretty tough, eh? I was pretty clean. Me and Michael passed each other about, I reckon, at least 30 times up until the Rodinga there, and then he overshot a corner. I don't know if he crashed or what happened, so I filled up at my second stop, and then just, I think with a big weight of fuel, the front end tipped into these whoops and cartwood.
So the lead's changed about 6 times there.
Bloody hit me nuts right on the handlebars, so that slowed me up a bit, and then I seen Ryan and Dice for a bit, so passed each other probably 7 times. Track's pretty hard because it's really heavy sand, so you come into a corner with heaps of speed, and the front end, you're trying to wash off speed, and the front end's right, trying to tuck under that.
It's going to be a hard ride home tomorrow. You're just going to have to be really on the game, you know. It's more of a mental consistency for 2 hours, 2 hours, 10 minutes. You know, just getting here and back, I suppose. It looks like it's had sun showers just out of Finke, actually. Every now and then you'd get to some really fast hard pack, and there's almost like a centimetre of water sitting on top. So no, there's plenty of water still out there.
With nightfall approaching, the community of Finke was filled with the sounds of mechanical repairs, teams working to repair and renew their machines for the race back in the morning. One interested spectator at this year's race was the owner and builder of the US giant off-road race manufacturer Jimco. Mike Jolson had almost 20 buggies of his design in the year's race and was keen to collect and give information about his machinery.
The old girl's looking pretty good. I actually wanted to come here for probably about the last 10 years, and the Finke, the customers that I have here in Australia always speak very highly of the Finke race. That this is the one to win. You know, it's a race for their championship, and pretty much what I understand is the who's who. They're here to race, and so I thought this was a great race to represent Jimco and come over and give everybody a pat on the back. We have a number of front runners that I think that are going to be contending this year. So if I was a betting man, and I am, I'd be betting on Jimco.
Jimco 2000, low sprung radiators, 6 litre engine, mid-mount, Alpin's gearbox. House steering.
Perfect for the Finke, or?
Sorry?
Perfect for the Finke, or?
Perfect for the Coulthard. That's all we need.
How come your car's clean?
Because we washed it. I haven't got an answer for that, really. I'll give a bit of a clean up, a bit of a look over, knock the mud off so we can see all the problems. And there was none. At this stage, there's not anyway, at the halfway point.
Yeah.
That's all going good.
What do you reckon the track will be like on the way back?
Should be good, by the look of it, I would say. Shouldn't be too much dust anyway, so it's good we've seen up here for a long time, I reckon.
Morning, Shannon.
Morning, how you going?
I'm good, mate. How
Sorry,
are you?
not bad.
Much work in the car last night?
They're pretty good. We got to finish pretty early, so
Yeah?
should be all good to go, I think. Hopefully we'll have a clean run home and hopefully make up a little bit of time. And so that should be good.
How's the car holding up?
Yeah, punchy yesterday, but we're here, so yeah, long way to go. Yeah, we're going to have a crack today. 146, I don't reckon we would have got down here that quick in a plane. I think he's flying, yeah. No, he's doing well. Hayden Bentley, that's disappointing for him, real disappointing. He was doing well, and he passed us with a flat, and he passed us and was moving along, so yeah, but he'll be back next year, bigger and better than ever, no doubt.
So he's not starting this morning?
No, he's not. No, he's done. He's over. So, yeah, like many, I suppose. Good, mate. How are you?
Bad. How's your morning?
Cold.
Cold? Wait to get on the track?
Yeah, mate. Looking forward to it.
Feeling good?
Feeling good.
What's your predictions?
Nice clean run home.
Quicker on the way back?
No, mate. Slow on the way back.
Slow on the way back?
Yeah. I think the track will be a little bit rougher going there.
Day 2, and the cars are starting to head back to Alice. The buggy of Dave Fellows and Andrew Kittle has a lead of over 4 minutes. .7:30, and Fellows and Kittle are first away, soon followed by Chris Coulthard. Shannon Wrench gets away. Pro Buggy 58 is next away, with Bruce Chapman at the wheel. Followed by Prouse, Pro, and 5-time winner Mark Burrows. All Dave Fellows and Andrew Kittle had to do to win the race was to stay on the track. The conditions were perfect and their Jimco buggy was full song. Although Buggy 88 of Coulthard and Hawker tried their heart out, there was no way to catch the number 14 buggy. Fellows cruised into sight of the finish with his foot off the pedal. After a number of attempts and many hundreds of thousands of dollars later, the team from Toyota Racing Developments had finally achieved their goal, King of the Desert. They covered the 450 kilometres in an overall time of 3 hours, 39 minutes and 2 seconds, the fastest time ever recorded. Chris Coulthard came in a game second, 1 minute and 10 seconds in the arrears. The Sydney-sider from Double Bay, Brad Prout, came in a gallant third in his single-seater Jimco. But motorsport is a cruel game, and mechanical failure can happen just about any time. Comfortable in third place, the wrench team was 500 metres from the finish when disaster struck. A disappointing finish for the two-time winner.
Definitely, I think I would have rather break down probably 100 kilometres away from the finish rather than that close. Sort of, especially after we've done a gearbox as well in the prologue, and we worked all day on Saturday and replaced it with another gearbox, and to do two in one weekend, it's definitely shattering.
At the finish, the champagne was flowing and the cheques were being handed out.
Number one, how do you feel?
Yeah, puffed. No, good, really good.
How was the track?
Yeah, it was rough coming home. It was good going down yesterday, but coming home today was really rough.
What was the toughest part?
Oh, probably all of it, because it was really choppy and square edge, so I think it'd be hard for the bikes coming home.
Got one up on Dad. He's come second and third a few times, but never won it, so yeah.
I don't know. I think it was all tough. As soon as that flag dropped, it was tough, so Dave had 4 minutes on us, so we had to get on it a bit, so she was pretty hard.
I didn't even see Shannon, actually, so it's very sad. I feel sorry for him. Yeah.
How's it feel? You're here now.
Yeah, great, yeah. Relieved.
How was the race?
It was good, awesome on the way back, fantastic.
What's the track like?
Fantastic, yeah, compacted down, better than the way down there.
Any tough spots in particular?
Oh, well, all the whoops between sort of 160 k's and 130 k's out, all much faster than previous years.
Great to know.
Been a few quiet ones, and my family and friends there.
But the Tattersalls Finke Desert race is not over yet. The bikes were just warming up on the start line at Finke. After the morning frosts had gone and the team of Fellows and Kittle had claimed the King of the Desert title for the cars, it was time to turn to the bikes to see which rider could be the fastest man back to Alice. 456 intrepid riders waited for their turn to start the gruelling trip home. They were to start in the order of their corrected times from day one.
Going as fast as I can. Hope we stay up to it. Get back in one piece.
It's good. No, I've made it this far. I'll make it the rest of the way.
A bad kicker at about 180 mark, and the bloke that was in front, he's out. He's in hospital. I think he's got broken ribs and collarbone. Jason Hill, he hit it as well. He's got a sore back, but he's riding today. Carmichael done the same thing. He's riding today. Just bruised up. Other than that, yeah, they're all going.
Like it's just 240 k's of hill, really. Just see what the dust is like. Hopefully I can stay with Crabbo and make a move on him. Just
trying to settle the nerves of it now and get over them whoops and then get home for a cold beer at the end of the day.
Yeah, always got the damp. It'd be stuff without it, I reckon. It wound up to number 8, as far as it'll go.
I made a mistake. I turned the damper was off the prologue on Saturday, and I forgot to turn the steering damper back on for race day yesterday, so I had no steering damper on all the way. So that probably resulted in part of the crash as well.
He doesn't need it, his front wheel doesn't touch the ground, does it?
There's not much time to between the top 5, so I think I'm 3 minutes 24 from Grabos in front. And last year I think I made up 3 minutes on the deep well section, but it was rougher last year too. So, yeah, it's going to be an awesome race on the way back. Everyone's going to be pushing really hard.
That's what I thought I'd
Of the vast field, only half a dozen riders had a real chance of taking first place. Last year's winner, Ben Grabham. Local favourite Ryan Branford, former local Caleb Orrick, and highly experienced riders Brad Williscroft, Jason Hill and Craig Carmichael. As 11:30 approached, the #1 bike of Ben Grabham lined up on the grid with his sights set on back-to-back wins. Keen not to see this happen, the youngest rider ever to win Finke was right behind him, ready to take the crown back. Round 2 of the battle between Grabham and Branford was about to begin. At the stroke of 11:30, the flag dropped and Ben Grabham was on his way. It was a painstaking wait for second-placed rider Ryan Branford. The wait was as painful for Caleb Orrick. And so it was for all the top riders, anxiously waiting for their turn to head back. Once the top riders were away, it was the chance for the day trippers to try and get back to Alice in one piece. At the pointy end of the field, the race was on in earnest. Grabham was holding the lead over Ryan Branford by less than a minute. Try as Branford could, he could not breach the gap to Grabham.
I just couldn't start the bike, so that was my own fault. Third kick it fired, and by then I probably lost 500 metres on Ben. So it was so hard to make time up on guys that are as fast as you, if not faster, out there. You know, if he's doing 160 and I'm doing 159, in an hour I'm only going to make a kilometre on him. It's not enough.
It was victory to Ben Grabham, 2 years in a row. Grabham's total time for the gruelling round trip was 4 hours, 4 minutes and 43 seconds.
Yeah, it's unreal. It's a big relief. Put a lot of hard work into it and a lot of training, but yeah, it's just it surprised me how hard the track was over the 2 days. It's probably the most physical track I've rode.
Ryan Branford came in second, just 58 seconds separating the two after 450 kilometres of unforgiving and punishing terrain. Brad Williscroft rode full throttle and managed to grab third position from Caleb Auric, and Auric managed to hold off a charging Craig Carmichael.
I had a couple of close calls where, I hung on to it, and there was nothing really where I was, nothing really scary, but just some things. If you stop concentration, if you're not concentrating, something can bite you,
As for the rest of the field, it was business as usual. Hang on and stay upright. Don't get hurt. Get to the finish and say, yeah, I've done Finke. Ben Grabham was elated to be king of the desert again. He collected his prize. Now the challenge is to come back next year and make it 3 in a row. One of the great stories of this year's race was that of Isaac Elliott. Isaac finished the race conquering one of the toughest challenges any able-bodied person could ever achieve.
Tough as on the way there, but on the way back it was fun because it gets really tough down towards Finke. So on the way back I was a bit tired and coming through the real tough stuff. I fell over once yesterday, but then all the way back I was just sort of cruising along, and apart from about 1:30 inwards I was going quick as, so I was just flying.
Oh look, I've been worried from the start. I'm just so glad to see him here in one piece, and it's just fantastic.
2008 saw maximum bike entries received. The challenge for the committee will be to increase car numbers in 2009. And with the ever-increasing popularity of the Tattersalls Finke Desert Race, who knows who might turn up to race. While this year's Tattersalls Finke Desert Race has been one of the most successful ever in terms of spectator numbers, competitor numbers and volunteer participants, the loss of rider David Schmidt saddened the racing community.
As one of the organisers of this great race, there's nothing that strikes more at the heart than the death of a competitor. And when the news came through of the death of David Schmidt, there was great sadness at Race Control. David had travelled over with his mates from Queensland and was competing in the race he'd long wanted to compete in. And it was then David's mates that supported some of the race committee across the weekend. The Finke committee and the broader Finke family expressed their condolences to David's family and to his friends.
This year's Tattersalls Finke Desert Race is dedicated to the memory of David Schmidt from Dalby in Queensland. David lost his life in the pursuit of a dream.